All right, we'll go on Pirke Avos, ethics for our fathers, as it's known. Again, one holding by Pirke Avos, ethics for our fathers, as is known. We are in Pirke Beis, second chapter, Mishna 16, and it's part, I think, 21. And we are still at the beginning of the Mishnah, where the Mishnah says, the name of Rebbe Yeshua, an evil eye, evil inclination, hatred of other people, remove a person from this world. So we've been speaking quite a bit about the evil eye, so to speak. So basically, we're speaking the last number of weeks about this idea that why, in general, should a person care, what someone else has, right? Why, that's where jealousy comes in, and I deserve this, and I should have that, and right, we've been speaking about that. So also goes against the Mishnah later, which we're going to see in Pirke Avos, where it says that mi washir, who's considered rich, and that is samech b'chelko, right? Someone who's happy with what they have. So you would think, in theory, that whatever a person has, they should be happy with, right? Why is it that we think that we deserve certain things, or we should have, certain things, in general? So that I would say it's a common thing, right? The question is, why is it, why is it common, right? Why in the world is it common that we think I have it coming? Yeah, everything's coming to me, right? The Mishnah Pirke Avos says, the Mishnah in Sanhedrin tells us that Bishvili Nivra Olam, the world is created for me. So what would I say? For me, and who's that coming to exclude? Everybody else, right? In other words, for me and nobody else. Okay. So the world's created for me. What do I care about everyone else? Good point. Really, we mentioned this before in Pirke Avos. Says that in Duties of the Heart, gate of self-accounting, right? That there are 30 ways to take self-accounting. The last way, he says, is basically it's you're living in the world with God, and no one else can do anything good or bad against the person unless God wills it. So then the whole above that, okay, very good. That is true. Then what do I need other people for? Why can't I go live in a cave? Right? Why can't I live in the middle of nowhere? Right? So the answer is because you need people, right? People have to be in the world. The world won't function otherwise, right? So for sure you need people, right? But essentially, bottom line, nobody can do anything against the person unless God wills it. So back to what we were saying before, that we think we have it coming. We think, okay, I'm serving God, best of my ability. I'm working hard. Everything should go smooth. Everything should go easy. What's the problem? Why should I have difficulty? Why should I have hardship? Why should other people, have it easy? So it's a syndrome called, I deserve. I should have it. Yeah. And it doesn't go that way, right? The world does not work, in that way. What someone else has, God gave it to them. Why? No idea, right? Whatever reason he gave it to them, not to you. Okay. We're going to say, but, I'm smarter. I'm closer to him. I've worked harder than this person has. I have it coming to me, right? It's like the statement saying that if a person learns a lot of Torah, we saw this before, Pirke Avos, person learns a lot of Torah, that's what it's created for, right? He was created, right? Certainly a Jew created to learn Torah, and whatever applies to non-Jew. Very good. Yeah, so you say, I deserve reward because I'm learning Torah. Right? I'm doing what I should be doing. So what does God say? Hey, you shouldn't think you're so pompous. You know so much. That's what you're created to do. Okay. So then, if that's true, why is the person asking for reward? We understand there's going to be reward in the next world. Very good. Right? That we understand. Okay. So even if it's going to be reward in the next world, why should I deserve it? You say, what do you mean? I worked hard. Right? I worked hard. I served God. I did everything to the best of my ability. Right? I did everything to the best of my ability. So why should I get it? Why don't I deserve it? So it's just the opposite. Chova says, why do you deserve it? Why should you get it? And what's the answer Chova gives? He says that a person is going to get reward. You know why God's going to reward you, even though we have many verses to say that we're going to get reward. Why? But why should God reward you? Jew or non-Jew, supposed to serve God. Jews have more obligations. Okay. So why do I deserve a hoodsie, right? Everyone in Massachusetts knows what a hoodsie is, right? Dixie cup of vanilla chocolate ice cream, wooden spoon, made from a company called Hood. So they call it a hoodsie. So you gotta say, I deserve a hoodsie. Why do you deserve a hoodsie? Says the Avos, you know why I get reward? You know why God says, I'm gonna give you that hoodsie in the next world? He says, I'm gonna give it to you because it's a chesed. I'm doing you an act of loving kindness. The reality is God owes us nothing. Zero. Gives us life, takes care of our needs. What, you want to be a pig and say I deserve reward also? Why? Why should you deserve reward? That's what you're commanded to do. Non, you got to keep the no idle laws. You got to keep what you're supposed to do. Okay. There's payback if you don't. Okay. But to get reward? Why should I get reward? Right? Why in the world should I get my reward? Says Mishna Pirke Avos, what's the highest level? The highest level to serve God is I'm serving him on condition I'm not getting reward. Not to receive reward. I ain't gonna say it, but we know in the next world you're gonna get a reward anyway. Okay. But even though I wouldn't get reward, wouldn't I keep it? Is that the only reason I'm keeping it? I mean, think of the Muslims. They're all doing everything for Allah, right? They're doing everything for Allah. If we say it's the same God as our God, okay. So they're doing it all for him, all about sacrifice and killing people for Allah. Getting 70 virgins in the next world. I don't know what a woman gets. Probably gets gypped off. She probably gets gypped if she kills, if she kills people. I mean, the guy they claim is going to get 70 virgins. Very good. What's she going to get? I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah. Yeah. She's going to get gypped over here. But okay. All right. We're not going to go there. So they're doing it for the sake of God. Allah. Yeah. What's going to be? What's going to be? That's why we don't mention Olam. That's why Torah doesn't mention anything about Olam, because then, we got motives why we're doing things. We don't want to fry in hell forever. We want a good portion of the world to come. Yeah. In any case, I mean, it's not the only reason. It doesn't mention the other reasons as well, but it doesn't really matter. Right? Now, let's analyze it. We know we're going to get reward. Is that the reason we're keeping it? All right, someone once told me, said, when I die, I'm going 6 feet under. So I said, I hope for your sake you're right, because if I'm right, you're in serious trouble. So he's like, what? Is life after death? He goes, yeah, give it to me in a soundbite. Give me 15 seconds. Give me 30 seconds soundbite. I told him I'll send him a link. If I start to speak within 3 seconds, I would have been shut down. Yeah, I don't know the person saw the link, didn't see the link. But I said, I'll tell you like this. Let's say so the person asked, okay, they don't believe in the next world or anything like that. Or maybe they have doubts, I don't know. Right? But they asked, what do? You find out it's not true. So you spent your whole life, or a lot of your life, living these ancient laws and this and that, and you get nothing, and you die like a dog. Poof! Nothing happens. Even the dog's reincarnated, meaning the soul's reincarnated into a dog. What happens? Dog dies, soul goes up. No doggy heaven. Yeah, no offense to any dog lovers out there or animal lovers out there. No doggy heaven. Yeah, I'm glad I'm here to break these myths. Yeah, no doggy heaven. The person dies. Right? I'll tell an interesting story. There was somebody, whatever, a non-Jew that that, his dog died. So what did he do? He had the dog cremated and the ashes spread around his favorite tree. Favorite tree, or I guess where it made, yeah. So when he died, when the owner of this dog died years later, so he put in his, last will and testament, to be cremated, have his ashes spread, same place as the dog. So he said, it's good enough for the dog, it's good enough for me. Can't make this stuff up. Yeah, in any case. So the person says, you're going 6 feet under, nothing else happens. Yeah, let's say nothing else happens. What would you say? So what would your life worth? So I said, I don't believe that's true. But even if it would be true, and every last thing we do, and it doesn't make sense, and we listen to the rabbis, it was a big mistake. Let's say, God forbid, it was all big mistake. All big mistake. So I asked them, or what they better. I told them that there's no better way in the world to live a meaningful life. Forget about Christians, the Muslims, the Hindus, and all of them. We believe what we're doing is right. We don't have any questions. We have no doubts. But at the end of the day, this is the best way to live. Right? Best way to live and have meaning in life. That even if we would find out it's all not true, right? That there is no life in the next world. There is no spiritual life, right? Obviously, we don't believe that. But let's say, is a person's life meaningful by keeping Torah mitzvahs as a Jew or a non-Jew? And I would say yes. Why? Because it's all about what I do. It's about what I think. It's about my actions. It's about repercussions for my actions. It's about spiritual growth. I'm not stuck in a certain, maybe in a certain caste. I'm born into a certain caste. I never change. In Judaism, you either go up or you go down. You're spiritually strong or weak, or let's say better, you have ups and downs, right? We're not perfect. Nobody's perfect in this world. Moses only reached 48th level of understanding. Some level he sinned. There were some people who never sinned. They only died because of the sin of Adam and Eve. Right? Only a handful of people, but even so, a person has to be careful what they think. They have to be careful what they say. Right? We've seen the last few weeks in the book of Leviticus. Right? Very clear. There's a connection to what I see. There's a connection to what I do. Right? There's a connection to the heart. There's a connection to the heart, to the brain. And what's going to happen? Right? The heart's going to see something. Brain's going to, or let's say better, person sees something. The brain, what does the brain do? Calculates it. A person thinks about it, it's there. Then it's part of your psyche, right? We've spoken about that, for the last number of weeks. So even that, we're going to be careful what they see, because what they see goes into the brain, goes in your psyche, it stays with you, doesn't leave you. Right? Like anything impure, what does the Torah say? Uses the word like devek. Devek means glue in modern Hebrew. It sticks to you. What does it mean? It sticks to you? It sticks to your soul. You don't forget. Soul never forgets. Like we mentioned before, someone puts up a post and says, what was the movie when you were a kid scared the life out of you? Yeah, people say this one, that one, the other one. They remember all these images, but it's all fake. It's all make-believe. But they killed this person, they did this, they tortured them. They didn't die. It's probably like having a bear somewhere. He's still alive. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. He didn't do anything. Nothing happened. But the images are there. They stick. They don't go anywhere. You have to bury them. Work very hard to bury them. Right? But anyone grew up in the 80s, right? Famous movie in the 80s, Poltergeist, right? Go to the light, right? People don't forget that. They don't forget it. It's part of you. Yeah, he grew up in that, if you saw it, you know what it is. If you didn't see it, okay, so you don't know what I'm talking about. But famous movie back in the 80s. Others also. I'm not going to show all my wisdom in this stuff, right? But it's there. Doesn't go anywhere. It's part of your psyche. You got to bury it. Got to work hard to bury it. It's a whole nother discussion, right? But it's there. 100% it's there. So there's an effect, huge effect. This is how it works. See, you live in the secular world, you never think about these things. You just live, right? But this is exactly how it works, right? As the Or Chaim HaKadosh says there, others, say the same thing, right? I'm not coming to deny what he says, right? But, others say the same thing. You see something, it registers to the brain. Whatever the brain does with it, sticks to you. That the image is there. You saw the image. It's there. Pretty amazing. Image stays there, and it's part of your psyche. Once it's part of your psyche, very hard to fix. Very, very hard. Very hard to fix. Yeah. Almost impossible, because it's part of you. So then you're going to get upstairs after 20 years. God's going to say, why'd you do this, do that, do the other thing? And he said, you made me that way. Well, let's say he did. He gave you certain character traits, very good, but he didn't tell you to do it. He told you to act on it. He said, what do you mean? You gave it to me. You programmed me this way. So God said so. I programmed other people in different ways. They have what to work on. You have what to work on. It's the way it works. What if you did to yourself? Even worse. If you want to blame God and say it's God's fault, he did this, he did that, did the other thing, right? You can have a claim against me. We just answered that. But what if you did it to yourself? What if you did it to yourself? You saw something, you watched something, I don't know, whatever it is, has an effect on your psyche. You can't blame anyone. You did it. You did it to yourself. What's the problem? No one else to blame. That's the problem. You did it to yourself. So you're responsible for what you see. God said, I didn't tell you to see this. I didn't tell you to watch this. Right? You did it. Oh, what if it was a test? What if God put it in front of you to test you? Or Mr. S, whatever. Maybe he did it to test you. Very good. And even if he did, the question is, you're going to pass the test or fail the test. Yeah, if you pass the test, very good. Then the test come harder. If you fail the test, okay, so it can also come harder. Different ways. But if you beat the evil inclination one way, we're going to speak about the evil inclination, I don't know when, because still on this topic, right? It's the next topic. But when evil inclination doesn't stop. Keeps coming. 24/7, even when you're asleep. Right? No way around it. So you got to deal with it. Right? You got to use it in the right way. But where, as we said before, as the Bible says in the gates of serving God, he says you're at a major disadvantage. Right? Think about this disadvantage. We call it the home court advantage for the body. Person's born. Second the person's born, comes out. What does the baby want? Be dealt with. Food. Right? Every second wants desire. Physical pleasure. Now, multiply that by infinity as the child grows. Becomes an adult or a young adult or whatever. Now, the soul's at a major disadvantage here because the body comes from this world. God created a human from the dust to the four corners of the earth, the Torah says. So, therefore, it's part of this world. Soul comes in as a stranger. Both of them says, total stranger to this world. God forces it in the body. Okay. So if God forces it in the body, and we don't have a choice who our siblings are, parents are, social economic situation. This is the way we're going to meet the challenges and try and reach our potential. Very good. But you're not given any choices. Okay. So you have certain character traits. From both parents, you got certain character traits. Right? You got certain DNA. Okay. And everyone's got a message. They're on a mission to do whatever they need to do, reaching potential. Very good. But at the same time, what would I say? The soul's at a major disadvantage. The body is the upper hand, no question. The Bible says, how is the soul going to purify and sanctify and elevate itself? Only through Torah. So Torah is going to help. Torah is really the antidote. But even with Torah, still, you gotta, you gotta be dedicated. You gotta work hard. The outside world's very strong. Very, very strong. And I've heard people say many, many times, come on, you're so weak. Yeah, we are. If religion was so strong, it should be. That's not a question. No one's denying that it should be, but we're living in a weak generation. So as strong as it is, you got to work, and you got to work hard. And a person can't just say, "Well, this happened, that happened, too bad." It stinks for me. What am I supposed to do? You put food in front of me, I'll eat it. It's kosher, it's not kosher, this, that, I'll do it. I have no willpower. I have willpower. Someone told me, even for little kids, right? At least over the age of 5 or 6, educational age, you're not allowed to feed them milk right after meat. You gotta wait. You gotta wait a certain amount of time, right? For a little kid, you go, wait half an hour, you can wait an hour, right? The older they get, the longer you have to wait between meat and milk. Okay. Someone said, that's cruel. You're denying basic things to your kids. I don't know. God says don't do it. So you have to educate kids. Not allowed to eat meat and milk together. You have to wait. That's an act of cruelty called discipline. That's what it is. It's called moral discipline. And that is, you can't do it. So, but don't you have an education? You got to think about your kids. Why are you supposed to educate them? I should wait till they're 12 before they start waiting between meat and milk. It's going to be very hard to do that. Even the best of circumstances, because they're already used to doing it. And breaking habits are very hard to do. Says Rev Yisrael Salanter, of blessed memory, founder of the Muslim movement, change one character trait in your life. One character trait. It's already a big thing. So now, if a person's been conditioned to do certain things, over time, how are you going to fight that? How's it going to be possible to fight that? How is it going to be possible to fight it? It'll be very hard. And the longer it takes, the longer you're accustomed to doing it, the harder it is. I met a number of people that, they want to convert, serious about conversion. But one of the hardest things to give up is certain foods. You got to think, come on. Can't you get kosher candy bars? Yes. Don't they taste as good as non-kosher? Yes. Plenty of things. We're not lacking in kosher food today. Plenty. You can even get things that taste strange. Taste not kosher. You can get like bacon bits, taste like bacon. Yeah, if anyone's ever had bacon. Yeah, but what's in bacon bits? All chemicals, right? Probably kill you in the process also. Or they have this thing called, it's not shrimp, right? It's fish. Obviously, it's not shrimp, right? That's the whole point. But they make it taste like shrimp. Okay. We're not lacking anything. Not lacking anything over here. Yeah, but someone will say certain things are very hard to give up. Yeah, like eating shrimp, like eating lobster, shellfish, other things. Yeah, it's hard to give up. Okay. But if you want to keep kosher, that's what you got to do. That's part of the deal. A person can say, come on, it's food. Yeah, but people are really into food. People are, you'd be surprised. People are really into food. I mean, I don't think that's to be a novelty for, for some people, but, give it up. Why do I give it up? Well, maybe God says to give it up. Well, I'm not going to do that. I only believe in God up to a point where it gets to my stomach or other things, right? Or things that will, what's the word? Things that will, will bother us to do. Things that are, that's what I was looking for, inconvenience. I don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't want to change. Forget about who I'm married to and other things. I don't want to change. I want to do whatever I want to do. That's it. Don't tell me I have to keep this, I have to keep that, I have to keep the other thing. So there are people say, I'm not going to do it because I don't have self-discipline. You could have it. You wanted to. Yeah. If you tell me, all kosher food tastes like seaweed, it's all bran and it's like, has no taste. Yeah, I can hear the question. I can hear the question. There are plenty of things that are sweet, gooey, it tastes good, but totally unhealthy. Okay. There are plenty of things, not a shortage. unfortunately, not a shortage, of all these things. So again, you might have somewhat of a claim that would take more discipline, but a person can say there's no good kosher food. It's not, there's only bran and seaweed. Okay, you'd have a claim. There's no good food. It's going to be very hard to be disciplined to keep it. Good. Yeah. What are you doing in a place you barely get anything? So what do you live on? Probably fish, probably a lot of fish and vegetables. That's what you live on. Rice, basic staples, and you don't have a problem with kosher. You might have a problem with bugs, but you don't have a problem with kosher. Yeah. So you're gonna say something very limited, right? You're very limited. That's true, but there's still plenty what to eat, even if you're limited. You can say, how much can a person eat fish? Good question. Very, very good question. Right? If it would come to that, it would be very hard. But in such a situation, what do you do? Found this before. What do a person's a Jew. Let's say they go on a business trip. They go on a business trip. Yeah, no kosher food. Or very little kosher food. So what do? You got to prepare. You got to prepare ahead of time. You got to bring stuff with you. What if you're there long term? Okay, so you know what? You eat basic things. You'll eat basic things, basic staple. Yeah, can always get fruits and vegetables, usually. That shouldn't be a problem. Right? Again, it's going to be much less of a kashrus issue, more of a bug issue for some things. Right? Most fruits and vegetables are pretty clean, so you don't have that problem. Right? Right? So other things you won't be able to eat. Okay. So you'd be limited. Okay. That'd be a test. That'd be a significant test. But guess what? If you're Jewish, you don't have a choice. So, person goes somewhere, gotta make sure you got what to eat. Even if they're extended amount of time. It might be, guess what? It might be fruits and vegetables. That's it. You gotta bring stuff with you. Someone's saying, is that how far it goes? It's how far it goes. Yeah, you go say it's pikuach nefesh, saving a life. No, it's not. It's not saving a life. Right? You'll live. Technically, yeah, if a person was starving, could they eat something on kosher? Yes. If it's a mixture of milk and meat, it'd be a different issue. But in general, could they eat most things? Yes. To save their life. This isn't saving a life. Because they're I'm going to starve. You won't starve. You won't starve. You don't want to eat. Right? This is like when you're desperate, there's nothing to eat. You're like, thousands of miles from civilization. Yeah, you're stuck on an island somewhere, you got nothing to eat. That I hear. That's saving a life. They have nothing. Okay. But that's not the case. Right? You can't even make that case. Right? Even if it's somewhere in the middle of nowhere, they probably still have food there. Right? So you still probably can find things to eat. Be surprised. The Union of Orthodox Rabbis has like more than 50,000, probably more than that, probably like close to 100,000 products that they certify all over. If a person went, they're in the middle of nowhere and they get gas, they go to the convenience store to get, when they're getting gas. There'll probably be a number of things you could eat there. Again, probably unhealthy. It's probably junk, but you definitely can find things. You'll probably be able to find things. Even like, in the middle of nowhere. All right. Again, you're going to get cheese? No. You got milk? No. All right. Meat? Probably not. Probably not. A lot of things you might not be able to get, but there'll be things you'll be able to get. All right. So the person can't claim that. They say, well, I got nothing to eat. I have to eat non-kosher. Who says? Who says? Again, it's not pikuach nefesh. It's not saving a life. Somebody asked, wouldn't using Kabbalah, couldn't you bring sparks up from anything? I'm going to speak about tomorrow. I'm going to speak about the book of Leviticus. I will mention, I'll give you what to think about, but I will mention the Orchai Makadosh I'm going through in Leviticus chapter 18 verse 2, right? Which still going to go through tomorrow. I'm not going to finish it, I don't think. most likely not going to finish it, but I would say there are sparks of holiness even in food. Now, we mentioned before when I spoke for many weeks about kashrus of animals, where we spoke in Leviticus chapter 11. I think it was chapter 11. In chapter 10, chapter 11. It's chapter 11. And that is that one of the things about a Jew keeping kosher, eating kosher animals, is the fact that we eat animals that have to have two symbols, right? They have to either chew their cud, and they have to have split hooves. It's only a handful of animals the Torah says has one or the other, but for a kosher animal, you need two, right? You need those two signs. So you have cows, right? You have sheep, you have goats, right? You have deer. I mean, you have a handful of animals that we eat. So these animals do not eat other animals. They're not carnivorous. They're herbivores. They eat vegetables, right? So we're not eating things that chase other animals. So one of the reasons we don't eat these other type of animals or birds that are predators, right? They're carnivorous. It's because we feel that if you eat that animal, the soul is in the blood, right? I spoke about that a lot. The soul is in the blood. So therefore, eating the animals like eating the soul, right? You're eating the soul of the animals. What do you think? All of a sudden you're going to be a predator. You're going to change your characteristics. So it's brought down that has an effect on the Jew, not a non-Jew. Right? This is the reason Kli Yakar over there says, one of the great commentators on Chumash says that a non-Jew would never do this, would never keep kosher. Why not? Unless in the process of conversion. Because you see, non-Jews eat all kinds of creepy crawly things, and who knows what doesn't affect them. Literally has no effect on their soul. Right? I don't know about the bats in Wuhan, but that's a different issue. But in general, whatever they eat, we see doesn't affect them. So the Kli Yakar says, and I use this all the time, fundamental principle, and that is that if a non-Jew is not going to convert, it has to keep Noahide laws, has to keep universal laws, then they're not going to keep kosher. They're going to absolutely have no obligation whatsoever to keep kosher. Why not? Because says the Kli Yakar, it doesn't do anything to them. It has no effect on the soul. So if it has no effect on the soul, and you see whatever non-Jew eats doesn't affect them, so then the obvious question Kli Yakar says, why would they do it? Why do they keep it? Right? It wouldn't be universal. That doesn't affect them. If you're holding that what we eat affects us. Now, what's the other question? What's the other obvious question? The other obvious question is a non-Jew in general as we said, if they, if what they eat doesn't affect them, why would they do it? There's another question though, and that is someone's gonna say science has never proven it. Science has never shown a connection between what a person eats and how it affects them. There's never been scientific proof for such a thing. Right? So you see, it's never been proven. So plenty of people, worship the Bible and science, right? That's what they worship because, they don't believe in hocus pocus and supernatural and all that. They believe what science shows or what science doesn't show, whatever. That's what they believe in. In science, we trust. So you tell me, very good, science hasn't proven it. So if science hasn't proven it, then that's not the reason. Yeah. Now, it could be other reasons why we keep kosher. Yeah. This might be one of them. I'm not saying it's the reason. But the question is going to be, should we care if science hasn't proven it or not? And the answer is no. Why? Very simple. Because science has basically only uncovered a smidgen, a very small amount of what's out there. What they've uncovered is pretty amazing, but they're uncovering a smidgen of what's out there. So if that's true, and they're only what they are finding out is a drop in the bucket to what's out there. Yeah. So who says they won't discover it? Maybe somewhere down the line they will. And even if they don't, let's say, 50 years down the line, 100 years down the line, 150 years down the line, they don't discover this. Yeah. That means it doesn't exist? That mean it's false? No, it just means they haven't discovered it. Doesn't mean it's not true. There are plenty of other things science hasn't discovered either. Okay. It's only in recent history. They discovered, potentially what the appendix is used for. Now, the appendix, everyone knows, right? Basic science or basic biology, let's say. Everybody knows if it ruptures, you got to get it taken out, right? That is dangerous. That you got to take it out. Okay. But God never put anything in the body. There's nothing in the body superfluous. There's only one thing that there's a command to take it off, and that's by a guy, and that's by circumcision, right? Person, born with foreskin for a Jew, have to take it off. That's the obligation. I have to take it off. What's the purpose of it? To take it off. That's the purpose. Now, some people would say there's a difference of opinion among doctors every number of years. Some people say it's good against cancer. It's not good against cancer. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The Torah commands you take it off. Period. That's it. Right? For a Jew, you take it off. Right? For a non-Jew, you have to take it off also if they convert. Right? If let's say they already did. Let's say they already been circumcised. Okay, so then you got to draw blood. They got to draw a little bit of blood because if there's nothing to take off, there's nothing to take off. Right? But in this case, that's the only piece, to a person that's on the flesh that's an obligation to take off. Every other thing, every other organ and everything else in the body has a purpose. Has a purpose. Now, modern medicine has figured out a lot of these things. Many things, inside the body. Right? Even outside the body, doesn't matter. So they know a lot about a lot of these things, right? Very good. And a lot of these organs, whatever, complex, right? You look at you look at the eye, very complex. What it's able to do and how it does it and all that, right? Shows their design. There's design in the world, right? But that's not the point, right? The point is there's nothing in the human body. There's no purpose. God created a human body, yeah. Each one is so Rashi says when God created the mold for humans, it was like a coin, right? You press it in, that's the mold. So God made the mold for every person. It's the same, right? You can say, well, men and women are different. Very good. Okay. They made two species, right? He made a man and a woman. That's it. Right? I'm glad we're going back to that. Glad America's going back to that. That's it. Two genders. And you know why? Like someone has to put that in legislation. Yeah, two genders, male, female. Very good. Okay. But pretty much the genders are the same, right? Give or take a few things here and there, right? Body-wise. Okay. Biology 101A. Good. Okay. Men and women are different also. They're all different. The way they think, the way they do things, fine. But there's nothing there that's not supposed to be there. Nothing. Now, it just so happens, the appendix, they didn't know. They, for many years, they weren't sure what exactly it does. Now I think they got a better understanding of what it does. Okay. But even if they didn't know what it does, let's say, they did this test, that test, they didn't know what it does. Now, are doctors recommending people in general take it out? No. They'd be an idiot for doing it, right? Malpractice, sue them up the gazoo. But why would you take it out if you didn't have to? There's no point. It's not causing any damage, right? The only reason you take it out is if it ruptures. That's it. You wouldn't take it out otherwise. So now you tell me good. So even if you wouldn't take it out, what's it doing there? Good question. Right? I would think, I mean, I'm not so young, but I would think that Even when I was growing up back in the day, I would think they know what's going on in the body. They know all the main organs and everything else and what they do. Shouldn't they know what the appendix does? I would think. Right? I would think they know what it does, or they should know what it does. Okay, you're going to tell me the body's complex. I don't know everything, but everything in the body, this reacts, that reacts. Okay, they know a lot. Medicine knows a lot, right? Give medicine credit here. They know a lot what goes on in the body. Good. But person growing up, from a young age, I go back, go back my parents' generation. Go back 80 years ago. So medicine is grown by leaps and bounds. No question. How they treated things, other things, it's unbelievable. So I can understand maybe, in their generation, maybe they didn't know what the appendix does. Or they didn't have clarity, let's say. Yeah. So maybe it didn't bother a lot of people because it's there. And again, you don't take it out for no reason. You only take it out, if it ruptures. But I would think as the medicine has advanced, again, my personal opinion here for what it's worth, I would think if medicine has advanced so much from my parents' generation, I would think that they should have an answer on. Clear-cut answer. I don't know. Put it in AI. I'm sure AI's probably got an answer. Probably got an answer. I'm saying they know more about it. Okay. That's mind-boggling. I mean, as advanced as a culture we are today, to still not have clarity what something the body does is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. So that's just one example. That's just one example. I'm sure there are hundreds, probably thousands of examples, of what science hasn't covered, what medicine hasn't covered. That they can say, they can pinpoint for sure. Plenty. So a person can say, oh, come on, you believe in this doctrine, you've been brainwashed, it's God this, it's spirituality, blah, blah, blah. Science is not God. It's not. And science is not proving everything. There are plenty of things, science hasn't proven. Can they, can they tell you, can they stop a cold from coming? No. You can take all this vitamin C, get a lot of exercise, get rest, this and that. Can a person get a cold? Could get a cold. All you need is someone to sneeze, boom. Just how wear a mask. Wear a mask wherever you go. I don't, that's not the, I would say it's a go-to for everything to stop this. But, let's say you wear a mask. So all things being equal, if a person did that, and they were very careful, and very hygienically sound, and shouldn't get sick. Common cold, you shouldn't get. Let's talk about other things. Common cold. Common cold. You didn't run out of the house, when it's freezing cold, wearing very little, even for a few minutes. Let's say you're very, very, very careful. And none of these things happen. Not change of weather, none of these things happen. So why do you get a human cold? Why do you get a cold? Say a person's run down, immune system's weak, this, that. Let's say it's not the case. Can science and medicine stop getting a cold? No. Right? Maybe YouTube's going to ban me for saying that. They can't stop it. They have no way to stop it. Not foolproof. Not, God's gift to everything. It's going to answer everything. So it's not a leap of faith. Because there are a lot of things science doesn't know. And medicine doesn't know. Not only that, a lot of times they tell you to take this medicine, that medicine for certain things. Doctors don't necessarily know how it works. Some do. Some more, let's say, holistic medicine can tell you, maybe, what this does for it, that does for it, whatever. But in general, they'll get upset. You're asking them all these questions. Why should I take this? And what does this do? And, then you get all the side effects, right? So you don't read the thing about side effects. But, okay, right? You take something to help one thing and cause other problems. Okay. The Rambam understood as a doctor back in the day, call him medieval, you call him whatever, whatever you want. He understood properties of plants. I'm saying there are people, you got holistic people today that understand also. Okay. But someone who's like straight laced, let's say like GP, and they don't go off the beaten track of what medicines to take for different things. Okay, they're not gonna be into that. And they'll say, no, that doesn't work, and this doesn't work, and you can't listen to this. Okay, because they're mainstream. They're not gonna go off the beaten path too much. Okay. But in general, it's not caked up to what people think. In science we trust, in biology we trust, and and all these other things. I mean, it's it's not rocket science to think that they're limited in what they have and what they know. They know a lot. I'm not going to say not. They have a lot of knowledge. A lot of knowledge today. In the field of science, in the field of what's it called? The field of science, in the field of medicine. No question. No question. But to tell me it's like the know all, the go all, the know all, and like they know everything. They don't know everything. They don't know everything, right? Not only that, someone does surgery. I mentioned this before. Someone does surgery and they stitch a person up. They can tell you statistically what should happen, depending on the age, strength of the body, everything. This should happen, that should happen. Now, can they give a guarantee? See, when the Torah says rape yirape, right? Rape yirape, they have the ability to heal. That's a flesh wound, right? Monty Python reference. It's a flesh wound. It's not inside. Because when they stitch you up, they have no guarantee what's going to happen. They have no guarantee whatsoever what's going to happen in the body. They can tell you this should happen, that should happen, that should happen. But they can't guarantee it. The only thing they can say is we've done everything we can do. Now they can say it could happen. It's an infection, and we have to open it up and drain it, or this, or whatever. They can say certain things that could happen, right? Best case scenario, nothing happens. They took care of it, no problem. That's it. You move on. You move on with life. There could be complications, okay. But a doctor can never say. This is going to happen, 100%. In other words, if you say, okay, let's make a deal. Whatever you say, if you're wrong, right? If you're wrong, then I get your pension. I get your 401k. You're going to sign it over to me if you're wrong. Yeah. Now they could look at the odds. Like I'm very much into statistics. They could look at the odds and say, "Come on, it's a sucker bet." Yeah, could be, because they know what's going to happen. They have a very good feeling what should happen. Okay, is that 100%? Is that 100%? No. They could say it's very close to 100%. Okay, person's healthy, no other scenario, no other problems. They can say this is going to happen. If they get $500,000 in a 401k, yeah, even $100,000 in a 401k, how confident are they going to be to sign it over and say nothing's going to happen? That depends how cocky they are. They could say, nah, guaranteed, I'll sign it. Some people would. Sure, some people would. Yeah, but there's not a guarantee, though. Not 100% guarantee, because there have been too many things that have happened to people. Even in basic things, that's why you don't get surgery unless you have to. The story of a great rabbi fell on ice here, had knee surgery. Surgery was successful. Then other things happened. I was in the hospital. Yeah, he died from it. Not from the knee, from something else. Knee surgery, okay, they took care of it. But obviously there was that time for that person to go. Okay. But you never think if someone goes in for knee surgery, yeah, they ain't coming out or they're going to have complications. It's going to kill them. I don't think anyone would, anyone would think such a thing. But again, there's no guarantee, right? There's absolutely no, no guarantee over here. So therefore, science, in medicine can only take you so far. But again, it's not a guarantee. And just because they haven't discovered something or they haven't figured it out, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just doesn't mean that. Oh, it's a leap of faith. Oh, you've been brainwashed. Yeah, thank God we've been brainwashed. But it doesn't matter what science says. Many times it doesn't matter what science says because of so many things they haven't proven. Doesn't mean we don't go to doctors. No, go to doctors. We have to go to doctors, right? And you should go to a good doctor. They know what they're doing. Okay, but again, then they're not foolproof. They're not God themselves. They can make mistakes, misdiagnose. I hear this all the time. People have certain symptoms of certain things, right? Especially with kids. So the doctor says, yeah, it must be this, or it must be that, or it must be something else. And sometimes they go on and on and on. They don't find the problem. They don't find the exact problem because sometimes certain things have similar symptoms. And because they have similar symptoms, they'll rule out something because, they don't want to come to say it's a more serious thing. Let someone know. Take their child for something. And the doctor says, yeah, it's probably this. Yeah, it's probably this. You take this, you do that, whatever it is. Well, then something else, was bothering this child. And when they came back after the first thing, they came back later with this other thing, and then the doctor turned white. And the doctor turned white, and he said, "Oh, must be, something worse, right? Something much worse." So he said, "I think it's this, and go get a blood test. Take this kid for a blood test, and you have to take 2 blood tests, whatever, and 1 blood test confirmed it. I mean, not life threatening, but it's going to be definitely has to be watched and different things have to be done. But he was spot on. First thing he says, well, could be that, but he didn't want to. There are other things it could have been, so he wanted to rule that out until he saw something else. Once he heard there was something else, bothering this kid, then he said, "Yeah, I really think it's this," which is much worse. Much worse than what he originally thought. Okay, but he didn't want to say, at the beginning, why bother doing all this testing, this and that? Could be something else. Could be something else in total, right? And what happened when this other thing came in? He said, yeah. He said, check the, take a couple blood tests, check this, and see if it comes out. Because it could be this. Most likely it's this. Because that has other character traits, right? This illness has other character traits. So, sometimes what it is it's a guessing game, in some ways. Because think, oh, maybe, maybe it's got the flu. Maybe they're, just run down. So, all right, take this. But then it gets worse and other things. And again, certain illnesses, which I'm by no way an expert, but things that I've read, there are certain illnesses that are very similar. They have similar, similar things going on, similar components of it, let's say better. Yeah, similar symptoms, that's the word, similar symptoms. Okay, but they can't know for sure, it could be similar to this, that, and the other thing, but, you want to rule out something, more severe if you're able to. You're not going to go that route first unless you see many other symptoms together. Right? One symptom, it could be the flu, it could be this, who knows, it could be leukemia, depends on what the symptoms are. If there's similar symptoms, to these other things. But, sometimes they'll see a bunch of things, they'll say, okay, I just want to rule out this. And I want to rule out that. And, and sometimes, those things are ruled out. Good. Okay, so it's not this, it's not something more serious. Okay. Now it could be this, or it could be that. Or so, it's kind of like you take it step by step. Okay, let's test for this. Let's look at that. And sometimes over time, they don't find the problem. Yeah, I mean, it causes havoc. Your kid's not doing well, let's say, or adults, not doing well. Yeah, I'll give you an example what happened to my father. My father was sick, not feeling well. And they thought, thought a lot of things what it could have been. right? Well, I didn't think anything major per se. Maybe he's run down, maybe he's got the flu, maybe this, maybe that. Try this test, that test, nothing showed up. Nothing showed up. So, I still wasn't feeling well. So, okay. So what they do a CAT scan. The CAT scan doesn't really show anything, right? Then they decide, okay, this is going on for like a few weeks. Let's do a PET scan. We'll do a PET scan, more in depth, much more in depth. Lo and behold, when they find out, after they do this PET scan, they think they do the PET scan at the beginning. They think, everything was so serious. I know what it was, but I think it was so serious. What did the PET scan show? So PET scan showed that lymphoma. That's what it showed. So as the doctor said, that's okay. We're going to treat it. We know what it is. It's probably terminal, but nothing imminent. Nothing imminent. But whatever. We're going to have to treat it. We're going to have to treat it. He still wasn't feeling well, right? And then what happened? He died in the middle of the night. They said like 6 to 12 months. Yeah, he died in the middle of the night. Same night. They diagnosed him. Okay, now, so someone says if we would have caught it earlier. I don't know. We would have caught it earlier. Would have mattered. Would have mattered so much. But even if it's going to be terminal, even if you're going to say, okay, 6 months, a year, that's their guess. Okay, nothing imminent right now. But what happened? He didn't make it through the night. So it's not foolproof. Especially if a person's older, you want to get to what's really going on, in case other things could happen. Okay, right. They blew that diagnosis, totally. And it was nothing to do anyway. Nothing pretty much to do anyway. Even they would have found it 2 weeks earlier. I don't think it would have started. I don't know exactly what they would have done, testing wise and whatever they would have given him. But wasn't guarantee. Wasn't a guarantee if they found it at the beginning. If they would have done it. They would have done a PET scan in the beginning. Maybe they would have found it. Okay. Well, it would have been treated any better. Diagnosis would have been better. Okay, when it's time to go, it's time to go. I'm just pointing out that finally they figured out what it was. Very good. Okay, well, we'll work on some way to treat it, or however we're going to treat it. But they didn't say like, okay, you better come down. It's going to be over very soon. This, that. It wasn't anything like that. Anything like that. Yeah, one of my brothers got a call in the middle of the night. So you better come now because our organs just shut down. They didn't see that coming. They even come close to seeing that coming. Or even 2 weeks before, what would they have done? I don't know. If they would have done anything, that was his time to go. All right. Again, what's the point? Science is not fallible, not infallible. Right? And doctors certainly can make mistakes. 100%. But they're human. You gotta understand they're human. They can do a lot of good. They can help save lives. Very good. God's help. Okay. Certainly not infallible. Even though the Gemara says in Kedushin, Tov Shebaroifim Leganim, even the best of doctors go to hell. Why? Why do they go to Ganem? Because Rashi says they see so many miracles, so many things, and they deny it. They deny God. Right? And they think they're God themselves. Stories of, doctors telling patients, well, maybe it's time to check out, go to hospice, this, that. Some people like saved their parents. There's a story of somebody it was their mother, and whatever. I think she had cancer and she wasn't doing well, and they were trying to convince her just to go to hospice and die, pretty much. So what happened? So their primary doctor said, get her out of the hospital, get her out of the hospital, kill her, she will deteriorate and die. Get her out of the hospital. They got her to another hospital. She got another 10 years. Another 10 years she lived. Right? So, trying to convince someone they're taking up space, other healthier people, we can help. You can't be helped. That's murder. That essentially is murder. Not direct. so to speak. That's only if they stop feeding them or whatever. But this person told the story. So I have to be an advocate. Child or whoever has to be an advocate. Otherwise, they'll cut them up like a cadaver. Like Reverend once told me many years ago. Right, many years ago, he said, "I can't even go near a hospital." I said, "Why?" He said, "If I go near a hospital, they already think I'm dead. They're going to think I'm a piece of meat, a cadaver. They'll probably bury me while I'm there." So, that's what they do. They older the person. Oh, we're not going to do heroics, right? You don't want heroics, right? Right? Trying to convince them to die. This person saved their mother 10 years. 10 years. Like I say, every case is like that, but there are a lot of cases like that. Hospitals are very strong at trying to, they only have a certain amount of hospital beds. They're taking up space. Not getting any better. At some point they're going to die, so let them die earlier. Let them just, wait it out. Don't do anything. Like the doctor said, you leave them there, they'll die. They will kill them. Right? They took them out. They got 10 years. Pretty amazing. Right? Not here, to knock the whole system. I'm not saying that, but there are plenty of plenty of places out there. If you look old, then they'll be so interested in saving people, so to speak, or keeping them alive. What are they keep alive for? They don't have value of life, right? That's the problem. They have no value of life. I'll tell another story. There's a story of somebody, whatever, a young kid in their 20s with a massive car accident, was in a coma, for a long time. And parents, had a tough decision what to do. So they still keep him there. The doctors kept telling them, why don't you just end it? Because even if he comes out, even if he comes out of the coma, he's gonna be a vegetable and this, and like he won't be able to function anyway. Like why keep them alive? Anyway, this person came out of the coma. Came out of the coma. Yeah. And one of the things he said was that even though, he couldn't respond, his soul was there, heard everything, right? Heard everything. So not only did he hear everything, he said he was screaming to the top of his lungs. Obviously, no one could hear him, but he's screaming at the top of his lungs, "Don't kill me. I still want to live. Don't kill me." They never heard him, right? Soul can scream as much as it wants, can't hear it, right? Can't hear anything. But he was alive. He was very much alive, didn't want to die. They could have killed him. They could have pulled the plug on him. Another story, Dr. Fetcher becomes a religious Jew, tells a story that had a patient that was on life support. And basically, gave the advice, or the family told them, he's not going to have any quality of life, or she, I don't remember if it was a he or she, not going to have any quality of life, pull the plug. Like, just put them out of the misery. Like, just pull the plug. So doctor pull the plug, and when you pull the plug, what happens? They die. So after this person died, the soul comes back in a dream to the doctor. Now the soul tells the doctor, "You killed me. You're a murderer. I only had a few more days, lying there in a coma. I was getting all my atonement, and now I'm suffering, and I have to go through this, and it's all your fault." He said, "You're a murderer." This doctor woke up in a sweat, like an absolute sweat. And whatever, shook him up, which I would assume it would. Now you say, dreams don't necessarily mean anything, and a lot of times they don't. This is pretty significant. Yeah. Any case, it happened again. This doctor, I heard his story. So he said it happened a second time. And the soul said, "I was just waiting there, and you think nothing's going on, and I can't hear anything, whatever. I was suffering, and that was my atonement in this world." Meanwhile, the Mabit, by the way, Mabit and Beis Elokim, in his epic work Beis Elokim, which is a book in Jewish philosophy, in the Gate of Repentance, he says that if a person is suffering, They have to admit they're suffering because of their sins to get atonement. To get atonement. Yeah. In any case, says the soul to the doctor in the dream, I'm suffering now in the next world where I don't have to be suffering. The only reason I'm suffering is the fact that what? You killed me. Right? According to Torah, 100% it's murder, Jew or non-Jew. It's murder. Right? That's murder. You think it's mercy? It's murder. Yeah? So this soul tells them in a dream that you killed me. I could have got my atonement through this. And now I'm suffering in Gehenna because of it. And it's your fault. After the second time, the doctor really shaken up. Really shaken up. Then he started investigating his roots. So, he sees that there's more to life than what you see in front of you. Right? And therefore, since he sees that the person's not just a body, but they're a body and a soul, there are repercussions, different things, made him think. I mean, it should make anybody think. But made him think. What did it do? Eventually, it became an Orthodox Jew. Right? Eventually, it becomes an Orthodox Jew. Which is pretty unbelievable. I mean, it shouldn't have to come to that. The person actually kills somebody, and then they have to get scared out of their wits, and eventually they come back. Right? It should not have to go that far. Yeah, that's what happened. Someone asks, elderly grandmother, age 97. Okay, in a nursing home, asked my uncle whether or not he wishes to sign. They asked him, yes, he's got custody, whatever, to make these decisions, for an order to permit them to feed my grandmother through a feeding tube. No longer able to eat food on their own. Okay. She's not relying on this tube for nutrition. Very good. Question is, if Michael had refused, my grandmother would probably pass. That's the problem. They're starving her. That's murder. That's murder. I'll tell you, there was somebody, let's say, goes in hospice, right? They have cancer. They're going to die, right? Within 2 months, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is, they're going to die. Now, the doctors know how much food, how much nutrients to give to the patient. So, they're not starving them to death. Okay, so they know how much to give. Very good. What's the secondary cause of cancer the person dies from? Pneumonia. Usually pneumonia. Now, pneumonia, person has cancer, so if they're going through chemotherapy, whatever, their immune system is totally shot. Usually it's totally shot. So if they get pneumonia or anything else, it's deadly because they have no way to fight it. So I asked the doctor, they starving them to death. They said, no, they're not starving them. They're giving them enough nutrients to live. Okay, they're giving them the bare minimum. Now, the question is, but they're not giving enough to fight off, if they get pneumonia, they'll die. A lot of times they'll die from it. So why is that murder? That's my question. Why is that murder? So basically, it's only indirect. That's what we call a grumma, right? It's indirect. If it's indirect, it's not murder. But you're not giving enough to really fight it. Okay, but you're not starving them. If you're starving them, that's murder. 100% that's murder, right? But if you're giving them basic nutrients in order to live, but they're gonna, but if they get any disease, right? If they get a cold, right? Pneumonia, any of these things, their immune system is extremely weak. They can't fight it, right? So it drains the organs and eventually will kill them. I mean, pneumonia much stronger, so normally it probably would kill a person. Now, again, in such a scenario, is that murder? It's not murder, right? It's indirect. You're going to say, but come on, how can you say that it's not murder? Again, it's not. Why would we say it's murder? It's not murder here. It's indirect. If they refuse to feed them, yes. So now the question is, she was going to eat. The only way she could eat is through a feeding tube. If you don't give a feeding tube, what happens? Can't eat. And if she can't eat, what's going to happen? She'll starve. And if she'll starve, she'll die. So you can't sign that. It's murder. 100%, it's murder. Would it be suicide or murder if the son refused to sign such a thing? she can't make the decision, right? If she would decide she doesn't want it and she's going to die, now there's a good question if that's suicide or not. That would be like the Gemara asked the question that if someone had the ability to get medicine, they didn't, or they didn't want it. That's suicide. So the answer is no. Why not? Because who says they have to take it? They don't take it, they'll die. Very good. But they're not doing it via dying. They're not doing it in their hands. If, like Mr. Kevorkian killed so many people, he says, okay, push the button, and the patient pushes the button, that's in their hands. That's suicide, right? So they put this toxic drink in their system, and they die, right? It kills them. Very good. That is direct murder. That is direct murder. Now, what about not taking medication? It's not direct murder, right? There's a case I knew about a number of years ago that somebody had a kidney transplant. 25 years later, the other kidney is failing, and they have to go on dialysis. And they were not a candidate to get another kidney. Yeah. Now, if you don't go on dialysis, what's going to happen? You'll die. Right? You got to get the toxins out of your system, right? You got to drain the system of all these toxins. You'll die. Essentially, you'll die. So what happened? They decided they didn't want to live on dialysis. It's going to live for a number of years. You can live a number of years on dialysis. So it's very draining. In the hospital 3 times a week, for hours on end. I mean, it's very draining. True. But that's going to keep you alive. Now, in this case, what does this person decide? In this case, the person decided they are not going to take the medicine. Sorry, they are not going to go on dialysis. Now, what happened? Again, in this case, if you don't go on dialysis, kidneys, not functioning, it's going to take the other organs, you will die. Pretty clear. And that's exactly what happened. A month, 2 months later, they were at home, whatever, and they died. That's my Rebbe in such a case. Is that suicide? That's a classic case. They could have been on dialysis for years. Number of years. I don't know. I don't know how many years a person could live on dialysis, but I think it's for a number of years. Right? They could have extended their life. They didn't want to live their life like that. They didn't want to go through extra suffering. So he says the person doesn't have to do that. You don't have to go through a road that's going to cause you pain. They don't have to do that. Right? So that is not called suicide. Right? So in this case, would it be suicide or murder if they refuse to sign it? They have an obligation to keep the patient alive. 100%. Again, if the patient's not in their right mind, then they have someone to advocate for them. So if it's a son or whoever it is, son, daughter, whoever, has the right to advocate. Yeah. And they choose not to feed them, they're guilty of murder. They are guilty of murder. It's not suicide. Suicide means they're in their own right mind, quote unquote, when they're doing it, even though the punishment for suicide for a Jew is that you're not buried in a Jewish cemetery. There are no mourning customs. You don't get up at resurrection of the dead, right? But even with that, most people commit suicide not in their right mind. So if they're not in their right mind, psychologically, that probably doesn't apply. Probably not suicide, even if they did to themselves, because they're not in the right mind, right? It's a horrible state to be in, but they're not in the right mind, right? Most people want to live rather than die, usually, unless there are other circumstances. But it doesn't matter. It's still a severe prohibition, but it's not suicide. Now, they did sign the papers and hesitate. That's the problem. That they are causing the person to die. What would I call that in the vernacular? It's murder. They're not doing it directly, right? But they are giving, explicit written permission for the doctors not to feed them. Now, what happens if the doctors don't feed them? Over time, they will die. That's murder. It's not suicide. It's murder, right? The reason it's not suicide because the person's not in their right mind to give such an answer. If they were in their right mind, they had their cognitive wit about, with them, and they decided, I don't want to go through heroics, so don't feed me. They can make that choice. That's not suicide or murder. They could make that choice because they say, I don't want to live this state. So they don't do anything. That's one thing. That's why even if they say don't feed me, that's fine. That's not murder. That's not murder on the other end either. Why? Because they made a decision. They don't want to go through heroics. Very good. If they do something active, that's suicide. Right? That would be suicide. Now, what if the patient expressed while they were lucid, such days should come, they don't want to be placed on the future. They don't have to. Right? Just in the case I said before. Right? In the case where this person decides they do not want to go on dialysis, same thing. They are preventing something from helping them, keeping them alive. They don't have to. They don't want to go through extra suffering. So you don't have to. You can decide not to be fed. It's not suicide or murder. You decided on your own. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. So the question is, so one day she says that while they're lucid, they said, don't place a feeding tube. That's not suicide. They can make that choice. If they're lucid, they can for sure make that choice. That's not suicide because they don't want to suffer. They don't want to prolong life. They don't have to. They don't want to. They're just preventing themselves from doing it. It's not suicide or murder. Should the offspring ignore the request if it's suicide? Yeah, most likely, yeah. They can ignore it. Yeah. They don't, they have a choice. If they explicitly say, listen, don't do any heroics, right? You can listen to them. You don't have to save them. There's no mitzvah to save them. Right? There is a command, listen to what the person says before they die. Right? Uphold what they say. Now again, you can't murder them. Here they say, listen, just kill me. Just let them kill me. All right. You can't do that directly. But if you prevent them from giving them medication, or let's say in this case, food, it's a murder. Right? That would be considered murder. You can listen to what the person says. Even though you want them around longer, yeah, as far as I understand, you have to keep what they say. Right? But that's not murder. That wouldn't be murder. They gave permission for the tube. Okay, so life is prolonged for now. If a person prolongs their life, right? Nice depressing topic here. Despite suffering, even though the suffering by being alive in this world is a form of kapara, form of atonement. Again, the Beis Elokim says the Mabit, it's only atonement if they understand and they acknowledge that the suffering is because of sins and it's going to be atonement. If they just say, woe to me, it's suffering, and they don't believe it's an atonement for anything, in any of these things, they don't get the merit of the suffering. Suffering can take away a lot of sin, tremendous amount of sin. Yeah, but according to the Ma'abit, you have to acknowledge it. You have to say you're suffering because of sin. Once the person acknowledges the suffering from sin, that will atone according to the Ma'abit. If you don't acknowledge it, then you don't get the merit of suffering. The suffering, let's say better, the suffering will not atone. Right? That's the way it works out according to the Ma'abit. As I mentioned, suffering could have done her well. Yeah, that sometimes you find out it's too late. A person can be defiant to the end, but they'll find out. They'll find out, in the end, but it's too late. So listen, you can pray for them. That's all you can do. You can pray for them. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's a lot. I'm not saying it's nothing, right? But in other ways, nothing you can do. Nothing to do. So again, for a parent, child of a parent, one thing you have to be very careful of is to make sure that if you have any other siblings or whatever, and a parent gets sick, to make sure they don't kill them. And you might even have to fork over a lot of money to do it and to fight to do it. Right? And that's you got an obligation to. That's certainly for a parent. You have an obligation. You have an obligation to try and save them as much as possible. We can even sue them. What if they have an ironclad thing that, a DNR do not resuscitate, you can sign. First a good sign. Yeah, again, it's passive. You're just telling them not to do anything. Okay, that's not direct. It's like you're doing something the other way, right? Like physically with your own hands. That's a different issue, right? That's a very different issue. But I would say at the same time, in that case, let's say they put in their will they want to get cremated. Yeah, a Jew cannot get cremated. It's forbidden for a Jew to get cremated. Now, if it's the last will and testament, the person wrote it years before, lucid mind, not so easy to overturn. Not so easy to overturn. And especially a person that has siblings, they're gonna say, no, it's cheaper. It's cheaper, we'll put her in a vase. Put her in a vase. Well, you can keep the ashes. No, you gotta fight. You gotta fight, even if it's gonna cost you a lot of money, try and save them for being cremated. For a Jew. Right? It seems for a non-Jew should also be buried. Well, that's what it sounds like, because the Torah says, person dies, you have to be in the ground, right? Came from the ground, you have to go to the ground. Now, that's what Adam and Eve did. They brought death to the world. But that's to all mankind, not just the Jews. So it seems non-Jews should also be in the ground, right? And not be cremated. Not be cremated as well. You got to say they're created in God's image also, right? So they should be cremated. So I think we hold that I think they can be, right? I'm pretty sure that they can be. I have to double check that, but I think they can be. But certainly for a Jew, you'd have to, you might have to, spend a lot of money to do that, to fight it, if you're able to, right? Definitely if you're able to make sure, that, a loved one doesn't get cremated, and not only that, they don't kill them. You can have siblings that, I'm not saying they hate the parent. They hate the parent, it's a different issue, but, even if they love the parent, they'll think this is the way to do it. I know someone, I've mentioned the story before, the father was suffering, and he was going to die, so they cut off the pacemaker. But asked the doctor, it would have died anyway. But when he cut off the pacemaker, died. So died in 6 hours, died in 2 hours. That's murder. Can't hasten someone's murder. You cannot hasten someone's murder. That's forbidden. So here they think, I did the right thing. I don't want my father to suffer. I get it. It's a horrific position to be in. There's no question. But at the same time, you can't murder them. So I was at the Shiva house, I was there, the mourner's house, and that's what one of the kids said. We couldn't see him suffer anymore. You're suffering way too much. So we brought it to an end. We cut off the pacemaker. I'm like, great, killed him. Again, no one wants to be in such a situation. How's the Torah look at it? You hasten someone's death. So it goes both ways. If let's say someone's chopping woods, and that's disturbing a person from dying, you tell them to stop. Yeah, you tell them to stop chopping woods. But at the same time, you cannot hasten the death. If they were going to die, in an hour and a half, and someone did something where they died in 20 minutes, that's hastening death. That's causing the person to die quicker. When it causes a person to die quicker, that's murder. Doesn't matter how much quicker, it's murder. 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, doesn't matter. You're not allowed to hasten a person's death, period. Period. So it's, these are, end of life decisions are, they're excruciating. But we value life at whatever level, whatever cost, right? We value life. Now, even if we value life as much as we do, there's no obligation to go beyond what the person wants. Meaning, they don't want to prolong their life. Yeah, you can't do anything direct, but if it's indirect, they can say, "I don't want this. I don't want to. I don't live any longer." Can't kill them, right? But you can say, "I'm not taking this medicine, whatever. What's going to happen? They'll die." I know someone had a stroke and affected their brain. They couldn't play Sudoku anymore, do crossword puzzles. I guess life is over when you can't play Sudoku anymore. So what the person do is refuse to eat. Basically, refuse to eat. Now, what happens when you refuse to eat? You get very weak. Person, was in hospice in their house and basically went into the hospital. 3-4 months later, they died. Now, again, is that suicide? No. That murder? No. They just chose not to help themselves. Choosing not to help yourself is not murder, and it's not suicide. You can make that choice. You don't want to suffer. But someone else had a stroke, and they didn't want to go through rehabilitation. Whatever it was going to take, and they just atrophied and died. Right, a month later. I don't know how much longer after. Wasn't a short amount of time. Wasn't such a long period of time either. But talk about attitude also. Attitude's a huge thing here in getting better. Not guaranteed, but person has the right attitude. They work hard. They can prolong their life if they want to. And if you don't, you got a bad attitude, or you don't want to do anything, and you just have no strength to do it, and you don't want to live that way, and blah blah blah. Very good. So what's going to happen? Your body just gets weaker and weaker, atrophies more, and you'll die. Right? Again, is that murder? Is that suicide? No. It's neither. It's not a good position to be in either case. Right? But a person can just say, "I don't want to live anymore." But you can't take, a pill and die either. Right? You can't do anything direct. Right? So if it's indirect, they don't want to take the medicine. Good. So if the date of a person's death is already written, if I don't have myself stay alive, not going against Hashem's wishes, he can do other things. Right? He can do other things also. Meaning, God knows what's going to do, past, present, future. Right? So let's say a person's going to die the next day. Now, all kinds of things can happen before that. Let's say a person's sick a few months before. Other things happen. They die on that day. Whether a person decides to get fed, doesn't, let's say they feed her. Let's say in this case, right? Let's say in your case. Yeah, they, I got the feeding tube in, very good. So, they're going to feed her, keep her alive, very good. Okay. So now, let's say, God forbid, now she gets an infection. She gets an infection. What does the infection do? Weakens the immune system, then all of a sudden, bam, there's a heart attack. Right? Heart attack. That's it. So what happened feeding her? What happened keep her alive? You know how long you keep her alive. Right? But let's say, but that's not, they give her all the nutrients. They take care of all the needs, yeah? So I say, okay, we're gonna feed her. Very good. Well, then she dies of a heart attack 2 weeks later, a month later. So on that day, whenever she's supposed to die, okay. Now, let's say they didn't feed her. So how long does it take for if a person, if you don't have liquids or whatever in you, it'll only take a few days, right? So she could die at that time. Person could die at that time. Or could die a month later. God knows what the date is. He absolutely knows what the date is. So it's going to take it into account how it's going to happen. Well, they feed her. Yeah, again, best case scenario. Everything's good, and they drop dead of a heart attack. They drop dead of a heart attack. So that's it. It doesn't contradict it. God will make it happen no matter what you do. He'll make it happen. Right? So
the cord that's attached to it.
I took it out.
Where is it?
It's on the sofa. So he can make it happen either way. He can totally make it happen either way. So it doesn't matter. That day, it will orchestrate it. Whether they get more food, less food, anything else, not going to matter. Right? Absolutely, absolutely not going to matter. God knows what we're going to do, so takes that into account. Yeah. They think, a person's going to last. Let's say in my father's case. Whatever they're going to do. Whatever they're going to do, 6 months to a year. God said no. God said he's going to die that night. That exact night. No matter what they did, didn't matter. Right? Doesn't matter. Right? So whatever the day is, unless there's a reprieve somewhere, and a miracle happens and, the person doesn't die then, okay, so whatever day they're supposed to die, they'll die. God knows when they're going to die. Very good. He takes all that into account. So make it happen either way. Right? Either way, angel of death, will come no matter what you do. Even if you do all the right things, everything's looking good, very good. I know a story, someone in their 60s, mentioned the story before, making it more depressing. Goes to the doctor, blood test, this, that, everything's good. 2 weeks later, massive heart attack. Like it's either a massive heart attack or a stroke. Yeah. They died sometime thereafter, within a year. Within a year. So what happened? That's when they're supposed to go. But how is God going to do that? Person seemed to be healthy. Right? Nothing wrong. All the blood tests, all the blood work is good. Come back in 6 months. Whatever. They have to come back in 6 months. Had a heart attack shortly thereafter. So again, either a heart attack or a stroke. So God can orchestrate anyway. It's never the same after that. Never functions the same afterwards, and that was it. So we have no idea. We have no idea. But God orchestrates in the way that He does, and how whether it's going to be easier, not easier, doesn't matter. Right? Whether it's going to live till 97, whatever. Still keep going, and then something can happen. Like overnight. They don't wake up, or they get a cold, at least a pneumonia, and then then they're very weak, and the immune system's weak, and they still don't die, right? Or they still don't die. Body's still going. Body's able to fight it off very good. Then all of a sudden something else happens, like let's say they're I don't know, they get up, they're in a walker, they're walking, they fall. Right? What is an older person, a much older person? 70s, 80s, whatever. What's their biggest fear? They fall. What happens when they fall? They break bones. Because their bones are weaker. Bones are much weaker. That's the biggest fear. So a case like this, someone much, much older, right? Let's say, in this case, 97 years old, very good. So let's say, okay, they're eating this, that. I don't know, they're able to get up and walk and this, that, and they fall. They fall, smash their head. Could be it. Other things can happen. We don't know. No idea. Right? No idea. God orchestrates it. He knows. And he'll do accordingly. We always say, there are a lot of messengers. God has a lot of messengers. A lot of messengers. You can make things happen anytime, any place. We're not in control. We think we're in control of nothing. Absolutely nothing. Especially when it comes to human bodies, it's very complex. Some things take longer to heal, some things shorter to heal. People say when they're older, and older people hate to hear this, but if something happens to them, it takes much longer to heal. But it's true, because your body's older. Your body's weaker. You take someone, as a kid or as a young adult, they break their arm. Okay. So, it takes a shorter amount of time to heal. A person in their 30s or 40s take a little longer time to heal. Depending how it was or whatever. Right? That's that's the nature of people. So, we're not in control. Right? That's the thing you gotta take out from this. Right? Is we're not in control. I've had a grandfather, I think, had, what do you call it? He fell, broke his hip, and he was like in his 90s, mid-90s. And, they wanted to do surgery. They didn't end up, doing surgery, whatever. He died sometime afterwards. Right? Sometimes afterwards, because, someone at that age, it's kind of risky to do surgery. Also it depends, how strong they are. Also, I remember, my mother's mother was a brittle diabetic. They were gonna had to amputate her leg, but they didn't know if she was gonna make it. She didn't know if she would die on the table. Just because she was, compromised, in other ways. So, well, they didn't have to make a decision because she died before, right? So you don't know. It depends how healthy the person is, and different things. And if they, as the statement goes, surgery was successful, the patient died. So surgery could be successful, but then there are other complications, different things. So we don't know. So again, let's make clear. According to the Mabit, a person has to admit suffering happens because of sin. If they don't admit suffering happens because of sin, or they don't say anything, suffering is not an atonement. It's just not an atonement. It's, you have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge it, according to that. They don't acknowledge it. Suffering is huge. Nobody wants it. Nobody's interested in it 100%, but it's huge. It's a huge, it's a huge thing. What it can atone for. If we knew how great suffering was and what it atoned for, we'd ask for more of it. What's the problem? We don't want it. We don't want it. I remember last year, I had this whatever, very strange virus, whatever, very nasty virus. And I don't know, I felt like something I ate. I had this tremendous stomach pain and other things, and fainted twice and whatever. And so much agony. What does the person feel like when there's so much agony? They can't move. You can't do anything, right? And nothing helps. Only sit in a certain position takes away some of the pain. You're in agony. You're in absolute agony. So what do? What would a person pray for if they were in their right minds? What would they pray for? Take this thing away. Too painful. Too painful. Right? But if you're acknowledging that this is for sin, even if you're suffering, and you pray to take it away, but yet you acknowledge that it's because of sin, you get the atonement. But no one wants to be in pain. You don't want to be, person in pain. It's it's very hard, very, very hard. What should a person think? One saying, I always wonder what a person's thinking in their mind when they're laying in bed. It depends how they feel, what went on during the day, right? When we lie in our bed before we go to sleep, person should taking a cheshbon nefesh, self-accounting. What did they do? What they do during the day? What did they accomplish? What didn't they accomplish? Between man and God, between man and man, this and that. What other people are thinking? Or as I'm just too tired, let me go to bed. I'm not thinking about anything. If you think about life too much, in general, you get depressed. You watch the news, you follow the news, you get depressed. Last week was a horrific week here. I was just imagine weather-wise, right? It's cold and they're predicting snow. We got a few drips of snow, whatever. Part of the country gets shut down because of it. Okay, but it was a horrific week. Babies killed, buried. Take out the mother, and it was the wrong person. It was the wrong person, and then they got the right boy. I mean, it was horrific. It was horrific. It was depressing, etc. But this is what we go through. Go through ups, we go through downs, right? But the whole country was in mourning. The whole country. It's just okay. You got to think about what it is for what it is, but you can't dwell on it. The more you dwell on it, it makes you more depressed. Now, on the other hand, where we mentioned last week, there was five buses supposed to be blown up, and it was going to cause October 7th 2.0 from the West Bank. All these people were going to come in and try and massacre people, and they set the bombs at the wrong time. Set at 9 o'clock in the morning. It was 9 o'clock at night. If it would have been 9 o'clock in the morning, it would create havoc, absolute havoc, and would have killed a lot of people. God forbid. So on the other hand, you see God's protection. tremendous protection. Right? You can say, well, these people were stupid. How could they make a mistake? That's not because God made them make a mistake. God intervened. Right? So on the one hand, my Rebbe said you gotta say what a miracle it is. But at the same time, you gotta say Mizmor Soidi. You gotta thank him. He stopped it. Gotta give thanks. So, again, you hear that and you say, okay, tremendous divine protection. Tremendous divine protection. But how many people look at that? I'll give an example, right? I won't get into politics, right? But I'll mention one thing because I just happened to see it earlier. There's a whole thing. I know people up to date in the news, whatever. This whole thing with Zelensky and Trump. Yeah, so people think, oh, look what he did and look how cruel it was. To Zelensky and fighting this whole war and they're losing and they need more people and they need more money and right. Someone put out a very clear thing. Oh, he's sucking up to Putin, this whole thing. But at face value, someone pointed out very interesting. One of his conditions is he's got to be part of NATO. Right? Now, if you're part of NATO, anyone who gets attacked in NATO, everyone in NATO has to help. Right? That's kind of the way it works by NATO. North American Treaty Organization. He has to get, Europe, other countries involved. And if that's the case, they can never make a deal with Russia. Right? That was the claim. Claim Russia would never sign such a deal. Because Russia knows if they go against, if they still fighting against Ukraine, right, then they're all going to gang up against them, America included. Right? And if America makes a deal and they're getting all these minerals or whatever, they're not going to attack either because then they come up against America. So whatever. There are other things going on, obviously behind the scenes, right? So on the one hand, you got the left is saying this is the worst thing in the world. They have to help these people. He's in Putin's back pocket, and all this, and it's a horrific thing, and this is like the worst thing America's ever seen, right? That's one side of the equation. On the other side of the equation, this makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, listen, I don't know all the facts, whatever. Just you can say this one person's opinion, okay, but does make sense, right? 100%, right? 100%, 100%. That makes sense. But he made a very good point, right? And again, without getting too much into politics, the point is that if they are part of NATO, what happens when anyone in NATO gets attacked? They have to attack. They have to help that country in NATO. They have to help them out, right? They have to help them out. So Russia's never, Putin's never going to sign such a thing. Never going to sign such a thing. So Trump's no dummy here, right? Obviously, as a businessman, okay. So we'll make money, from Ukraine by taking out the minerals, right? We'll get the minerals, and that's going to stop Russia from attacking. Why? Because American interest. Yeah, because they're going to attack with America there? Probably not, right? Most likely not. They have to make some sort of deal, right? But yeah, so again, you got the leftists making Trump look like the biggest turkey in the world, right? Because of this thing. On the other hand, who says they should be involved anyway? I agree. Putin went in and shouldn't have done what he did. It's between them. It's between them. America has to get involved, right? But anyway, there are ways to look at it. There are ways to look at it. Anyway, someone asked, which parent is a child responsible to take care of? Prior to the case that there are both biological and adoptive parents. If someone's adopted, yeah. So adoptive parents are like the parents. Biological parents are out the window. They don't have any connection. Even if they meet the biological parents. At that point, do the biological parents have an obligation? A good question. Good question. I would say whoever's got legal guardianship, they have the obligation. They're like the parents. Now, let's say that the parents now take over. Biological parents take over. Now they have the obligation. At that point, they're still exempt. They don't have They don't have custody. The question is, they have more of a moral obligation because they're the parents. That's going to be a sticky situation. So the question is, what does Jewish law say? What does Jewish law say? My guess would be that the biological parents, whoever's the legal guardian, they have the obligation. They have the legal obligation like the parents. If the biological parents come back on the scene and they're able to do things like they could, and they should have the obligation. Even if they don't have legal custody, right? The ones that have legal custody have more of an obligation. That's for sure. That's for sure. But if the parent comes back and says, I want to be in their lives, and the child agrees, the parents would have an obligation. Then the parents at that point would have an obligation. That's what I would say. Look into that further also, but I think we'd go according to who's got legal custody. And that is if the legal guardian, has custody, okay. But if the parents come on the scene, I would think they have an obligation. Yeah, if they're able to. If they're normal and whatever, for whatever reason they gave them up for adoption. But let's say they don't have any issues, no psychological issues, no nothing, and the child wants to have connection with the parents, right? And the parents want to have a connection with the child. So I would think at that point they have obligations. If they gave them up for adoption, I would say that their legal obligation right now is gone. Right? They gave them up legally. Right? To say, but parent's a parent, even if they gave them up legally. Okay. Yeah, but if they're not in a position, they gave up the child because of hardship, or they just weren't able to take care of their needs, they're certainly exempt, 100%. They'd be exempt, until they have the ability to do so. If they have the ability to do so, then they should. That's what I would think. I'll probably have to look into that a little bit more, but I think that would be the case. Someone who says minerals, U.S. and Russia always been a big one. Yeah. Listen, in Vietnam, one of the claims that America got involved is because of vast resources, I think mineral and other resources, in that area. I mean, the real reason was they didn't want Russia to get there. They didn't want Russia to have influence, right, over that area. Now, because of communism. Now they could say that, right? But I think it had more to do with money than anything else, right? America's, is not going to get involved in other countries' squabbles unless it's in their interest, right? You saw what happened between the Croats and the Serbs back in the 90s, right? Former Yugoslavia. Yeah. Why did America get involved? No money. There's no reason for them to get involved, right? If they had no reason to get involved, they would have got involved, right? Why did they get involved in Kuwait? You got to say because Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. So that's we're not going to talk about politics. Anyway, he had weapons of mass destruction, which they never found. But everyone agrees it's better he's not in the world, right? Even though, you got problems with who took over and everything else in Iraq. Okay, it's a different issue, right? It's a different issue, right? But why'd they get involved in Kuwait? Because if Iraq takes over Kuwait, that's 70% of the oil, right? It's the majority amount of oil in the world. So they can't have Iraq take over there. They can't have a rogue dictator take over, majority of oil in the world. That's crazy, right? That'd be suicide for most of the world. So they got involved. But why'd they get involved? Why'd they get involved? Money. That's the reason they got involved. It wasn't because they were, such lovers of, democracy in that sense, right? But there was something, just this USA group, whatever. I mean, billions of dollars America gave, billions of dollars to rogue countries and to terrorists. Hamas being one of them. I mean, it's a mind-boggling thing if you think about it, that supposedly after October 7th. Yeah. $2.1 billion from this group went to Hamas. It's mind-boggling. And all these other, terrorist groups. All the money, like, not stupid for shutting it down. Yeah. And they acknowledge. They acknowledge where the money went. It's insanity. Insanity. Say what you want about this new government. They're cleaning house. They're cleaning out all this waste. Yeah, I don't know where the money went. Some of these things. Yeah, like millions of dollars. No idea where the money went. And what do you mean I have no idea? $50 million one time. Okay, where exactly did it go? We're not sure. You're not sure? $15 million is a lot of money. It's insanity. Absolute insanity. So, you look at what's going on in the world, it's, America will get involved in whatever it needs to get involved in because of money, because of influence. Yeah, they're not going to get involved in a rinky-dink place. There's no, there were a million killed in the Rwandan war, right? To the Hutus and the Tutsis, back in the day, in the 90s, right? There was in the 90s. Anyway, a million people died. America get involved? Not at all. Anyone else get involved? No. What's get involved in Rwanda? What has Rwanda brought to the world? What have they brought to the table? They got minerals, they got other things? They're getting involved. Why in the world they get involved? There's no reason to get involved. Yeah. So, there's been bad blood, for a long time between the Russians and Ukrainians. Right? It's no question. Right? It's no, there's absolutely no question. The question is how to stop it now. So now he's coming and trying to stop it. Very good. Right? So it's a mess. It's an absolute mess, but there's certain things you can't do. And he's looking at the future, and he's right. Right? If they go into NATO, Russia ain't going to sign. It's still going to go on. Right? So, you try and make some sort of deal. To get out of this. Yeah. America's spending a lot of money to defend them. So they won't spend any more money. It's not fair. Okay. Whatever, whatever it is, but in the bigger scheme of things, it's a catch-22. The major, major catch-22. You're going to say, Putin came and he took and he doesn't deserve it. Okay. You're right. He doesn't. He doesn't. I mean, a lot of people killed. You're right. But they're not going to win the war. They're going to keep going on and more people are going to die. So cut your losses. Whatever they have, let them take and move on. Or whatever. Work out some sort of deal. With some sort of deal. We can say it's not fair. Look what they did. They've got their life. They're freedom fighters. Okay. So now Americans is fine. We'll get involved. We'll broker the deal. You give us minerals. Okay. But there's certain things they can't do. There's just certain things they can't do. Otherwise, the other side won't sign. Right? It's a mess. Total mess. Right? So, we'll see what happens. But, obviously there are two sides to the story. Some people say, yeah, you got to help them. You got to stop aggression. You got to stop that. You're right. Right? It's also true. But, you got to be smart how you're going to do it. Because only a few ways to be able to, try and negotiate something. And, that's what he's trying to do. But, in either case for us, they can kill each other to oblivion. So it's not going to matter to us as long as the Jews are safe. Because Russia and Ukraine both have tremendous Jewish blood on their soil. Tremendous. Killed tens of thousands of Jews, made them suffer like no tomorrow. So the more they get killed there, as long as there are no Jews there, why should anybody care? Nobody should care. You think the Ukrainians are innocent? I know a few people that they grew up in the Ukraine, and each one of them spit on the land. They could. They just grew up horrific what they did to Jews there. It bears out in history what happened. Jews had to flee there. But they were tortured like no tomorrow. So, in general, however many people die, according to us, going the way, Judaism looks at it, a lot of blood. A lot of Jewish blood. You can say that everywhere, but okay. I'm talking about this specific case. Yeah. Is there anyone innocent? No one's innocent. God's creating a bloodbath. Good. So let them all die. But look what they've done. It's great. Kabbalist today says that the war Gog and Magog, the first people are going to get hit is Europe. Not the ones closest to Israel, but to Europe because of all the blood, all the Jewish blood that's been drained there. I mean, both places are horrific. Either way. People say, "Oh, it's not a good thing to say." Like, they're fighting for their freedom. These people are scum of the earth. Russians know better. Both of them, two peas in a pod. Two peas in a pod. Not about freedom, not about anything. They deserve whatever they're getting, right? God orchestrated it, great. Putin's an egomaniac. He wants to take more land, build up Russia, very good. Let him do what he wants, yeah. But it's going to come at a price. He's paid a price. Ukraine's paid a price. Let him pay more prices. So what? In the bigger scheme of things, look what they've done to the Jewish people. They've destroyed the Jewish people there. Yeah. It's not popular to say, but that's the truth. That's all we do is speak the truth there. Right? Yeah. Any other questions? All right. If there are no questions, I'm gonna sign out. I do this every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, feel free. You can find me on Facebook at Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com. Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, ethics of our fathers, book of Leviticus. Want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHIMCOFFMAN at gmail.com, whichever goods. Beginning of the day, middle of the day.